friends, it's Stacy here with Stacy Makes. Welcome back to this channel. If you are new here, thank you for joining us, where we talk about all things crochet. And if you are not new, thank you for coming back. Today I have lots to get through. I'm going to try not to veer off the path too much and make sure that I get to everything on my list today. Hopefully you've been enjoying some of the longer, chattier videos. My standard was like 30 to 40 minutes, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, for the last 3 weeks, I've had a lot to talk about, and I've gotten like to that 1 hour mark and not even like trying. So if the extra chattiness is bothering you, I'm so sorry. It's just lots going on, and that's exciting. So I'm sure there will be weeks where it's like, here's a 15-20 minute video. That's all I had. So today, let me go over and summarize kind of what we're going to go through the day. And that way, if you aren't interested in the first part, you know that later there's a part that you want to hit. You can try to get to that and you don't miss it today. I do have some new patterns that I tried that I want to go over. I have a new pattern I designed and I'm releasing today that was kind of on the down low a little bit. If you don't follow my Instagram stories, you did not get a sneak peek, and I did not talk about it last week, but it is tested and ready and should be live on Etsy when this video is released. I have a mod for my sitting birds that I'm going to talk about. That's exciting. I'm going to go over a new eye organizer I have, a new yarn I tried, and some new merch, which is... this shirt is part of that merch that is available on my Etsy. So lots to get to. Let's jump right in that order. We'll just go through and start talking about the new patterns that I tried this week. First on my list was this Sloth. This pattern is by Teresa's Crochet Shop. This was in her Etsy shop. This is not in her book. If you have both, I talked about several weeks ago, coming out of Christmas, I did get her book and I tried her koala, but this one is actually off of her Etsy shop. This is not a hard pattern at all, guys. There's obviously some sewing with the way these arms are attached. You can tell by looking at it, they are not sewn or crocheted into the round. The head is sewn onto the body, but this is really basic sewing, I should say. If you have not done sewing before and it intimidates you, I would suggest this pattern, unless you're intimidated by color changes as well, because there are these color changes that you do in the face that just make the face. So if you haven't done color changes and you haven't done sewing, this might be a good one to start with, although it is big. You make the head, you start with at this place and you work your way back. Make the head, you finish it completely, you close it all up, you make the body from the bottom up, leave it open, and then you make the arms and sew them on. But because of the basic structure of the body, sewing the arms in this way through so many rounds, it's pretty easy to get them straight and aligned, I feel like, which maybe that just seems basic to me because I've done a lot more intricate sewing than this. I don't know, but I feel like it's the pretty basic. You know, you're laying it across a certain place and you're tacking it in. And then what I like to do is, when I have two arms like this, when I get done sewing them all in, tightening it all up, I pull my string to the back of both arms, and then I knot them together and tuck them inside, and I just feel like that gives a little extra security to the tails, that, you know, to the sewing that you did. So really basic. Now, the only thing, Teresa's Crochet Shop, I love her patterns. I love her simple writing style, but her patterns are written a little different. If you are used to seeing like a single crochet increase times 12, she does single crochet and then do 2 single crochet in the next stitch, which is an increase. She writes it out that way. So that could be, you just kind of have to switch your mind a little bit. I mean, it didn't really throw me off. I started and I'm like, oh yeah, she does the chain 2, do all your stitches into the second chain, which I do a magic ring. She can switch it. I mean, if you know the terminology well enough, you can go through it and be like, okay, this is not a magic ring, but it can be. This is an increase. This is what she's calling an increase. If you're super super used to doing increases and haven't seen it written out that way. It's really, her decreases are decreases though. When you get to the back of the head, it's just that increased terminology, I think, that could or could not throw you off maybe a little bit. It's, like I said, it's not hard. It's just getting used to a little, like reading it a little differently. So it looks like more words, but it's saying the same thing. So these are 25 millimeter sinker eyes that I painted that have the little highlights on them. This is embroidery nose and embroidered mouth, which this embroidery is pretty simple too. And she has you stop before you finish the head and do it before you get the head done, which I think is a lovely idea if you know exactly where you're going to place something, because you don't have to worry about pulling it through the polyfill and trying to knot it inside. You can get it a little tighter when you do tighten all your embroidery up. So this is, I think Sid the Sloth is his name. If I'm wrong, I'll put it on the screen so that you know for sure. But this is her bigger sloth pattern that is available in her Etsy shop. So it's Teresa's Crochet Shop, and Teresa is TH instead of just a TE. If you're looking for her, everything is linked down in the description though. If you're looking for a link to this pattern or her Instagram, it'll all be down in there. Obviously I chose coral. You can choose whatever color that you want. I chose coral. I just thought it would be a fun, cute color to make it out of. Hadn't made anything bright and fun this week, so I just grabbed it and went with it. You do sew you can, I guess it tells you to do so, but you don't have to. But I chose to sew my hands and my legs together so that you could hang it on something, but you can't like take it apart and then tie it around there. But you could stick something through here and let it hang, or you could put something in its little arms, but it's just adorable. I love this pattern. It probably took me, I know the head took me 35 to 40 minutes to do the head, the full head. That was start to finish. First time I'd made it, but because it's basic stitches outside of, you know, the color changes here, but then you color change and you just move on to this color. For the rest of the head, it's just some rounds, some decreased rounds, and you're closing it up. I mean, it's a simple construction, but it is big. So if you're a slower crocheter, that may take you quite a bit longer. I don't know, but 35-40 minutes in the head alone. I probably had about an hour and a half total between making the arms, the legs, the body, sewing all the pieces together, and doing the hair tuft on top, which you don't have to do, but you know, a good hour and a half, I would say. So I'm going to price this guy at $35, see how that goes, and we'll go from there. But it's adorable, isn't it? So cute. I just love it. It's a really good size too. I mean, it's a really good size for $35, and this is burlap blanket yarn. So if you can, and I used a 6.5 millimeter hook, because this was not super thin burnet like the Mystical's a little thinner. This, and sometimes I use a 6 with that, but this was just, it was soft, but it wasn't the super thin or the newer thinner stuff. So I used a 6.5. So adorable. Teresa's Crochet Shop, Sloth, brand new pattern. So cute. Okay. The next pattern that I tried this week was a camel. If you know me, if you're not new here, my daughter is also a crochet artist and designer and does markets with me. She's my grown daughter. I have 2 daughters and 3 sons. And she does all the markets with me, and she designs patterns, and she shared this one with me, and I hadn't made it yet. And I usually don't make her stuff because she makes it and takes it to markets, and I make my stuff and take my stuff to markets, and it's just kind of a variety. So we don't usually cross over and do each other's patterns unless for some reason we just want to try it, or, you know, we're just curious how they did something. So this is Casey the Camel. I love this pattern. I think it turned out really cute. This is probably, I would consider a very advanced beginner or an intermediate crocheter. That could mean a bajillion things to different people. There's a debate, you know, on threads right now as to what you define that at. You know, I mean, someone who has been crocheting for a year or two, but now really ventured out, done a lot of techniques, really gotten the stitches down and done a lot of stuff. Could still be a beginner level on some levels, and so it's just hard. I don't know that there's really an industry standard. I should look that up sometime if there's really an industry standard, but I will tell you, if you are going to make this pattern, it is in your best interest to be familiar with attaching legs in a round later, and sewing on a head. You do divide this body. You get so far and you divide this body into 2 separate stitches, and then you start working up the bump, and then you have to come back and join yarn and work up the neck. So if you're not familiar with doing that, there is no video tutorials that show you those things in this pattern, which is not to fault Tara's pattern, but it's just to say that if you are not familiar with that, there are some pictures, but there's no video tutorial. There's no super long explanation of every single step. It's just divide the body, do this. This is how many it was for me. Here's a visual of the body divided. And so it kind of gives you an idea of that. Now, Tara is always willing to help you out, and she has talked about maybe going back and adding a little bit more visuals to the pattern. But for me, I had done 4 legs. I had done divided bodies. I had done sewing onto, you know, the neck and so on. So but the other neat thing about this pattern, if you are familiar with all those things, and those things are something that you can do, is you crochet into the round these ears and this hair. Like, I don't mean like you make them and then you crochet them in. I mean like they are part of the round, and it's a really neat technique that she used to do that, where you chain out and you make the ear. You know, you do a front loop only this section, and it's neat. And it's not something that I had been super familiar with doing and making something this big, which she had done that on her Tice the Turtle pattern as well with the flippers. They chain out, and there's just like several rows to the flipper itself, and then you kind of meet back in, and it makes the flipper without having to make it separately and without having to sew it on or so on. So it's neat. I like the way that the ears and the hair you don't surface crochet anything on this thing. When you are done, you are done, including this tail. It is also crocheted into the round. So I would say this took me probably an hour, 15 minutes. I wasn't timing myself, but that's just my guess. I did it in 2 nights because I started out late and I got the head completely done, and then I stopped. I would suggest, if you're going to make this pattern, that you stuff this neck really, really, really well, because and you definitely make sure that you attach using lots. Don't attach with just a few stitches here in the round. Like, attach using this whole base area of this neck when you attach it, so that you have something really sturdy, and then keep stuffing that neck as you're sewing this head on, which may just be common knowledge to a lot of you, but I know for beginners or people who are not familiar with doing, having something freestanding like this, may not know that. So I use my amigurumi sticks, and I stick them through, and I start sewing. When I get a little bit more than halfway around, I really stuff more, usually in my meeting part, so that it's not floppy. I mean, this guy's not going anywhere. I mean, this is hard as a rock. Really, I stuffed it really good. I will tell you that, and if you've already seen it, you've seen it, and you're like, Stacey, are you going to talk about it or not? It's the elephant in the room on the camel. But this is the new Elise Voluto yarn that I talked about last week. I had almost a whole skein of it. I had used it to make one squirrel, I think, or maybe a capybara, I can't remember, but I had used this yarn a little bit to make something, and I thought I was going to have more than enough. This guy's pretty big though. It's bigger than I thought it was going to be. So I got everything done but the neck, and I was out of yarn, and I just got this Elise Voluto yarn. I have no extras, I have no scraps. And so luckily I found a thinner Burnett Blanket sand color that was almost identical. So this whole neck is sand, and it was just a scrap I had in my scrap bin, because the lot that I have in a whole skein was totally the wrong color of sand, but for some reason this one scrap of sand that I had in my scrap basket matched this yarn really, really well. I mean, you can barely tell the texture even changes or anything here. And then I got to here and I was out again, and I'm like, crap. So I had another little scrap of sand that was just a little off colored, and you can kind of see it if you look really close, that right in here it's a different color. You really can't tell here because this whole neck is burnout blanket and this is Elise Blue Tone. You just really hardly can't tell there, but man, when you got up here, it's got like a little bit of a pinky tan twinge to it. So anyway, that's on me, not obviously the pattern. I did hand paint these safety eyes. These are 20mm sinkers. I don't know, I really like this pattern. I like the way that the feet are done so that they are flat bottomed. I had made feet this way before, or legs. So that wasn't anything unique for me working in the back third loop. So if you're not familiar with that either, that is something else that you need to know how to do to make this pattern. But it is adorable. I think once you've made one, I mean, you're like, oh yeah, that's what she meant, you know. And once you've made one, I think that you could go back and make this in probably a little over an hour, barely over an hour. But anyway, I'm going to charge $28 for this guy. This is Old Soul Factory Crochet on Instagram, but she's just Old Soul Factory here on YouTube and on Etsy, I believe. But it'll be linked down below so you guys will have access to the pattern. But this is Casey the Camel. Adorable. I had never ever made a camel before. So that's the second new pattern. And the last new pattern is this Chunkymon Little Pikachu that is by Naughty Nat. This is free on her Instagram. She has a whole bunch of free Chunkymons on her Instagram. I did not want to go back and forth on her Instagram to make these, and I thought I would be making several of them. So you can buy her patterns on Etsy as well in a pack. This came in a bundle. This one, Charmander, and maybe, I don't know if it's Bulbasaur or if it's Squirtle. I'm not a huge Pokemon fan or anything, but simple construction. You do have to sew the ears on. You do crochet the tail up and out into these rows. It's kind of a neat construction, and then you tack it back in so it stays close to the body. I made this is jumbo yarn, so it's not supposed to be very big, but I made it out of jumbo yarn. Me and Tara signed up for a very, very local anime fest. It's the biggest town closest to us, but it's not, I mean, it's small in comparison to like St. Louis or Indianapolis or, you know, especially like Atlanta, anything like that. It's just a one-day thing. It's like 10 to 5, I think. We got into the artist alley and with one 6-foot table, but I just wanted to start making a few things here and there, really anime and video games and that kind of stuff. Realm is more on Tara's side of the spectrum, but I thought I could make a few things that will still appeal to general audience if I make them and take them to later markets if they don't sell for some reason. So easy pattern to follow. I have zero, complaints about the pattern itself. If you are new to turning and doing some rounds kind of in this tail might throw you for a loop. It's really the only thing I can think of. That, and you have to sew the ears on, so if you're not familiar with sewing, that might be a downfall for you. Personally, it took me a whole minute to sew each ear on and then tie the strings together, a minute. So it was 2 or 3 minutes after I had the ears made. So I didn't find it laborsome. I would probably make a few more of these if I end up having time before the Anime Fest. I'm just sorry, there's fuzzies everywhere. This yarn sheds so bad. But the Anime Fest is in May, so I think I'm just going to try to make 1 or 2 things every week, and then by the time, some weeks anyway, some weeks I probably make nothing, but by the time Anime Fest gets here, I'll have a collection of things maybe to put out that's more anime related. But then also that crowd loves our plushies in general, so I don't think that it's going to be a problem to just take our normal plushie inventory either to a fest like this. But I did want to have a few little things that were more tailored to what the Anime Fest was about. So anyway, it's Pikachu Chunkymon by Naughty Nat. Again, I'll put it in the description down below, and you guys will have access to it there. And yeah, wasn't hard. Some sewing, some, you know, crocheting in the rows a little bit here and there. So, okay, that was my third new pattern. That's all the new patterns I have for this week. I do have, so speaking of the Anime Fest, let's just go right into, I would lean more towards like a video game than doing more like anime characters probably. So I like Animal Crossing. That's really the only video game that I play, but I do have kids who love Fortnite and Rust and other games that are out there, obviously. But I thought, I was looking up things I thought would be easy and fast, smaller stuff to make that are not complicated anime characters unnecessarily, because I know Tara likes to do more of that, and I would not even be able to speak to who some of those characters are. I might still make a few. I did buy a couple of Sweet Beans Crochets patterns, and I still plan to, and that are kind of like the mini versions, so I still plan to make a few. I won't be able to tell you who they are necessarily. I'll figure that out before I go, but I won't be able to speak to the anime that they're in or any of that stuff. But I thought, I found the Stardew Valley chickens. It was suggested, I'm like, make a chicken in blue, and it's a Stardew Valley chicken. But I got to looking at the actual shape of a Stardew Valley chicken, and I thought, that shape is the shape of my sitting birds. So I took you could take any of the 2.0 birds that have the tail feathers. I just picked Sally the Seagull because she also has the same beak. So I took the Sally the Seagull pattern. I didn't follow the colors in Sally the Seagull, but I followed the pattern to a T. And then I used the rooster comb on top. So that's where this mod comes from, which the rooster comb is in the 1.0 pack. So if you have the 1.0 and the 2.0 pack, you can kind of take the right colors and combine them together to make this Stardew Valley chicken. If you don't have the 1.0 pack, but you have the 2.0, you could probably freehand the comb. It's not super complicated, and find a way to put the comb on the guy. So I am super excited about this. I think it looks just like, I mean, the most it can, right? Look like the Stardew Valley chicken because of the yarn that I used. So this is the Stardew Valley chicken that I came up with. This is my sitting birds pattern with the tail feathers. I mean, the other option is to follow the rooster pattern. Don't put the wattle on it, but the tail feathers aren't part of that. So you wouldn't have the tail feathers but the tail feathers are in the seagull pattern. So anyway, but this is the mystical blue yarn, the bright blue. There's two blues. They have like a more muted blue, and then they have this brighter blue. I don't have enough of this to make another chicken this size, but I did make a mini chicken. I'll show you in a little bit out of it. I just think because Stardew Valley is so pixelated that the color changes that are in this yarn kind of help make it look kind of pixelated. I don't know. I just think it looks a lot like it. So I used a mustardy golden color for the feet and the beak. Obviously the wings, the tail feathers, and the body are all the blue. And then I used this magenta-y violet color for the comb, because that's what color the Stardew Valley chicken is. So I was really proud of this when I got done. I really think that people are going to know what it is. I know that Stardew Valley is not anime, but I do know that a lot of the same crowd that watches animes play video games, cozy games, you know, that kind of thing. So I'm just taking a chance on this, and I could take it to a market, and somebody who doesn't even know what Stardew Valley is thinks this blue chicken's cute. I can take it to any market, and it's still, there might be Stardew Valley fans, because I know that there are people who play that video game. So I personally have tried it, and it was just too pixelated for me. After working with or playing in Animal Crossing for so long, where the graphics are just amazing, I just couldn't handle the 2D flat pixelation. But it is a cute Stardew Valley chicken. So that is what this is, and I hope that you guys like this. If you have questions, more questions about this, let me know. But this is my Sitting Birds pattern, basically Sally the Seagull, but in these colors with the chicken / rooster comb on top. So I'm going to put 18 on this guy. Okay, next thing that was kind of new-ish for me was my new, well, before we get into my new pattern, let's go ahead and go over everything else I made this week and get that out of the way. I made 2 pocket frogs. These are Steph's Stitches pattern. She has a reel where she shows you how to make these, but she also just sells this little bundle of, like, I think it's pocket or claw machine things. It's got a bunny, a bear, a frog, and an octopus in it that are little quick makes. I just bought her Etsy pattern instead of using the free reel, so I just had a PDF copy of it. Super fast. This is Elise Veluto yarn again, my new favorite that I just went all in on and just bought a whole bunch more to replace all my Sweet Snuggles like. Anyway, I made 2 of these and these are going to be $8. I made 2 more of these little pocket, little bitty chickens. This is Chanel's Crochet's Itty Bitty Birds pattern, except for I freehanded a comb on the top to make it look like a chicken. I'm going to do 10 on these. I made 3 emotional support chicken nuggets. And no, they do not have eyes yet. There's no eyes on these guys. I'm going to put felt eyes on them. And I just haven't gotten the glue gun out, but I'm going to go ahead and count them because I did spend my time, most of my time spent on these is in the eye, or is in the bodies of these. So I did find enough yarn. My mom went to town where there was a Michael's and picked up 3 more skeins of this yarn, so I didn't have to buy it online in a bulk from Premier or buy a bunch to get free shipping. So but anyway, this is just a free-handed chicken nugget that I do, and they're all kind of a little different. I don't follow the exact same thing every single time I make it, so they all just kind of turn out different, and I put them in a little sleeve that says emotional support chicken nugget, and I sell these for $12. And then I took I modded a little chicken out of that blue while I had the yarn out, and just made this little mini chicken. I'm going to do 5 on. And that total, not counting the new pattern that I made, I mean, it counts the new pattern that I made, but you haven't seen it yet. Total of inventory that I made this week was $227. Sorry if I keep looking over here. I've got my notepad here. But I made $227 worth of inventory this week. If you've been following along, I'm trying to make 200 every week at least, just to keep consistent inventory flowing in. That we do have a market in 4 weeks, and then we won't have another one until Anime Fest in the beginning of May. So this week's inventory added to what I already had in plushie inventory. I now have $1,962 of inventory. So I still have 4 weeks. So hopefully I'll hit my $2,500 goal before I go to the show. So I'll show you now. Okay, the new pattern. I'm going to get on the edge of my seat because I am excited. Okay, the new pattern that I made this week. I tell you, before I show it to you, really quick, my creative juices are just flowing, guys. Like, I am on a roll. I'm getting these pattern ideas stuck in my head, and when I get them stuck in my head, I'm having a really hard time focusing on making inventory or doing much of anything else, just because, like, I need to get this pattern idea and structure out of my head. It's just like I sleep and dream about it, and I'm sitting here doing something else. I'm like, oh, I could do that on the back to make this shape, and I'm like, my brain goes in overdrive, and I have to, the only way to really get it shut off is to just sit down and do it. And that's just exactly what I did this week. I think it was Monday night. I was like, okay, I got, this idea has been in my head, it needs to come out, and it needs to go on paper, and then when I got it out and on paper, after just, really, it took me just one night. I mean, because I had sat and mulled this over in my head so many times that it did not take me very long to get this pattern written out and designed. And so then I just contacted some friends and was like, hey, some people who had tested for me before, interested in doing a very quick another pattern. It's fast, but I need it by Saturday because I really want to surprise my YouTubers, watchers and subscribers with a new pattern this week that they hadn't even seen, and it already be released. And the next one though, I promise I will put a tester call out for, because I do already know what the next one I think is going to be. So here is the next pattern. You know, I have Pepper the skunk, and now I have Nutmeg the squirrel, which released, and you guys saw that last week. I'm going to introduce you to Basil the hamster. This is Basil. This was the first draft, so it's not a ton different. I changed the color changes slightly to be a little bit smoother. The pattern comes with this 2-color body option, but also has a completely separated solid body color option, which I like to do because if I'm doing the solid color, having the weird color changes in there just slow me down. And some of the rows are super simple, but because of color changes, I had to write them out. Like, you know, you'll do 2 single crochets and an increase the whole way around, but because I have to color break them, that's not the way that the 2-colored body is written. So I rewrote a solid colored body version so that you would just be able just to breeze through it and not have to worry about skipping the bold parts. So, but anyway, this is Basil. Again, this is the very first one made out of Premier Basics chenille. I'll put her right there. This one is made out of Elise Veluto yarn. I just love this chunky little body, and if you don't have a plastic safety nose, I'm getting ready to show you one where I embroidered it, and it's solid. If you know, hamsters' little tails kind of come out of the back down at the bottom. They are not a tail that comes out up here. I was going to use the same stitches for the feet as I did for Pepper and Nutmeg, but it just didn't, it was too big and overpowering for this guy because he's so small. Joe, look at that face. I highly recommend you do not skip the face shaping that's in this pattern. I promise it is easy. It is got pictures for exactly how to do it, and if you've never done face shaping, hopefully it's laid out in a way that makes sense to you. But you literally just go back in here and you pull string through here, come back and you pull it together, and it pulls these eyes into each other like this. If you don't do that, you're just going to have a more flat rounded. You're not going to get this pulled in shape that you have here, and which also then accents these cheeks, I feel like, that are puffed out on the sides. When you can pull the eyes in, the cheeks puff out more, and it's just, it makes sense. So and then I made, this is the solid version, the little embroidered nose. You can see the eyes pulled into each other, the big old chunk of cheeks. This is Elise Softy Plus, which is the new yarn I was going to talk about later. Definitely smaller than, it's more of a, I would say a weight 5. I did use a 4.5mm hook with this one, but that's my solid one. And then I decided that we needed to see what Basil looked like in jumbo yarn. So this is Basil in jumbo yarn. So we have the little furry Softy Plus one, the Veluto one, and then this is Parfait XL in size 7 jumbo yarn, which I used a 7mm hook for. It's also solid. This little tail, it's so cute. So this is Basil the hamster. I just love it. I mean, my testers did a great job making this pattern. Several of them made the 2-color versions. A couple of them made the solid. I did also suggest that it would be fun just to make the first few rounds in an accent color and then switch it. And Robin did one like that, which you'll probably see on Robin's channel today from Knotting Hook Crochet. She tried one like that, and it looks really cute. So it's like the solid colored body, but you just make 2 rows of like a cream and then move to brown, and then the whole thing's brown, but it just makes it look a little less, it's not, you know, just as plain as the solid, but it's also not as complex as having to do the color changes throughout on both sides. So I do carry my color changes. So if you don't do color changes very often, these color changes are really close to each other. And so I carry my yarn. So I drop it, pick my other yarn back up. and then I just pick up, and I just make sure that I have enough slack so it doesn't pull across and it's not too tight, but it's not so much slack that the stitches are going to be loose or come out or whatever. So it's just kind of an art, you know, to like figuring out how to carry it without without having it be too tight. And what I mean by carry is I don't crochet over it to bring it along. I drop it and pick it back up. So there's strings in between inside instead of tying off every time. So if you've not tried that technique, it does take a little bit to get used to, but I'm so used to it now that like when I did the 2-colored thing, it was just like my hands just would drop, pick up, drop, pick up, drop, pick up, and it was faster for me. But again, I've done it for a long time. So okay, well here is Basil, the hamster. I hope you guys love Basil. Basil will be on a slight release day sale today, and probably tomorrow. I'm going to run, just like I have been on the other patterns, I'll run a release day sale where you guys can, if you buy him within a day or two of the release, you'll get a little bit off of the regular price. So his regular price is $3.50. So, I mean, the release day sale, I think, makes it $2-something, $2.80, $2.60. I can't remember what it is, but you guys, I'll have a link down below. You guys can find Basil the hamster on my Etsy shop. So hopefully you love Basil too. So I made 4 total, but that one's the one with the color changes that aren't quite right, but that went into my inventory this week. And I'm going to do 12 on these 3 guys. And then I'm going to do 15 on the more jumbo one because that yarn costs a lot more and it is quite a bit bigger. So anyway, let's welcome Basil to the family. Okay, what else do we have this week? So, new yarn. I was just telling you about Elise, Baby Elise Softy Plus is what that is called. I got several colors of this. Let me grab a regular Elise. This is a regular Elise, this darker brown. You can see it's quite a bit thinner, but it is like got a different fluffy texture to it. It's kind of just got a cord kind of in the middle with this fluffy, you can see the cord actually. You can see that? I don't know if I can get it where it shows up just right, where you guys can see it. See the cord, and then there's just like fluffiness on it. The other side, yeah, you can see it. Okay, but this says it's a, let's see, what does it say it is? It's 100 grams, 131 yards, which is the same as like Parfait Chunky skeins. It says it's a weight 6, which Parfait Chunky claims that too, but I beg to differ on some of those, whether they're actually 6s or they're 5s, but it's a 100% micro polyester. It's definitely got a very soft blankety yarn feel. It's not a fuzzy fur feel at all, but it's just fuzzy enough to be forgiving, but also structured enough so where you could feel you can see the stitches even. If you look at my hamster, you can still see my little bees kind of enough. I was surprised. I thought I'm gonna regret doing this probably because I really thought it would be harder to work with, but when I made this hamster, I really didn't have a hard time finding my stitches. But again, I worked with faux fur before and I've worked with all kinds of fuzzy yarns, so take that as you may if you are a beginner. Okay, so I still have 2 more things to go over. I did get a new eye organizer, which, sorry, I have a hair on me. Yep, there it is. There it is. There it is. Okay. I did get a new eye organizer. I saw some people using ring organizers to put their safety eyes in, and I have grown quite the collection of painted safety eyes. Some of them mine, some of them from the retreats, some of them I've bought from other people. Even though I make painted safety eyes, I love to still support other people who make safety eyes and have varying types in my collection. So I just did a safety eye drop, by the way, if you of my little mystery color boxes on my Etsy, if they're still there. I know that I got 1 order yesterday for them already, but I did the sinkers and the flatbacks not a ton. I just sat down for a couple hours yesterday and painted. So, and what I had was what I have. So if you were interested in the mystery colored safety eye boxes, they are on my Etsy. At least they were when I filmed this. But anyway, ring organizers with a little, but I wanted one that had some structure to it, wasn't huge, didn't have a big glass lid over it or anything, but was just pretty portable. So this is what I ended up buying from Amazon, and I really, really, really like it, guys. This is it here. It's got it's stiff. It's 100 ring organizer. I'll have it linked down in my Amazon down below. But it's got obviously all these little slots where the rings would normally go. And of course it's, you know, got 100 slots on here. Because of the size of some of these eyes, obviously you can't utilize every single slot. And I knew that you wouldn't be able to, but I got in there. This is all the painted safety eyes that are in my current collection. And they stick in there so well, and they stay. I mean, like, they're not going anywhere. So what I do is I put all of the backs in a like a gallon size Ziploc bag, and then I have this down, like I have a shelf down here on below, so when I'm making something, I can just get this out and find the color that I want. It's so much easier than looking through the bags that I was using. And then I had some like cardboard pieces that I had made holes in, and they were falling out of the holes, and it was just a whole thing. So much easier. So I just organized, like, this is my 30s, my 25s, and my 20s, and then these are my flat backs over here on this side, which got to looking at it, and I'm like, I only have big flat backs. I don't have any of the small ones. These are all my 28s, and I don't have any 23s, but anyway. So these are 30s, 25s, 20s, some more 25s, and then these are on my 28mm flat backs. Some of them need cleaned off. They're from the retreat, and they were still kind of cloudy. I need to wipe them down before I'd actually use them. But anyway, I really, really like this, guys. So if you have a small collection, or I don't know, maybe you guys would think this is a big collection, but if you have a collection about this size, I don't know how many pairs I have in here. I would say, let's see, there's about 30 sets of eyes in here right now. And this one is missing an eye only because I never found it down in my bin down there to put it in here. It didn't fall out. But anyway, it's not going to fall out. And they're in there pretty good. And I just set them down on the bottom shelf of this little organizer that sits by me when I crochet. And so anyway, I like it. I really, really like it, guys. These little like velvety, styrofoamy kind of holes that you just poke them into. So anyway, this will be linked. I want to say it was like $12. 12 or 13, I can't remember. I looked at so many of them. There, you can just buy the mats that are in here, but then they're just floppy and flimsy, and I didn't want to do that. So, but I didn't want, like I said, there's some that had the big lids on them where you can like literally, there's a glass lid and you can like lock it, which, you know, if you have lots and you want to be able to stack them, maybe that's the way to go. But anyway, I love this idea, and I can't remember who shared it, but I saw it on my Instagram one day, but they had the one with the big lid on it, and I thought, I wonder if they make those without. So I love this new thing. So if you have a bunch of these and you don't know what to do with your safety eyes, like, this is just super quick to pull out and see what I have. Okay, and now on to the new merch. So I've already showed you my shirt. It says crochet, 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 crochet all day, and then it says Stacy Makes Apple Tree Boutique down there on the bottom. I made a few of these for the retreat last year through a different website, and I wasn't super 100% excited about the quality of the sweatshirt or the printing. So I went to find a new, I don't want to get into making shirts myself, but I love to have a little bit of crochet merch available, and I love to have some for myself. So I designed this shirt and one more, which I'll show you in just a second. And I found a company called Printify, which I've heard people talk about before. Printify, and this is not sponsored at all, by the way. I mean, they have, you know, but Printify has a huge selection of different brands, types, colors of all of their shirts. It's not just basic Gildan or Hanes or whatever, cotton poly blends, whatever they may be. But these are Comfort Colors brands. I love Comfort Color shirts and sweatshirts. I just felt like they're a little bit heavier than a generic t-shirt. They have a great weight to them. They kind of have this faded color to them anyway. I don't know how else to describe it, but and I feel like they wash well that way because it looks intentional, because that's the way that they're dyed, is kind of a more faded color. I don't know how else to describe that, but so Printify will link directly to your Etsy shop, and their whole inventory links. So you tell them what you pick a brand, style, you pick the colors that you want to offer it in and the sizes that you want to offer it in. They tell you how much that they're going to charge, like me, to print it and take care of the drop ship order. And then I add what I want to make off of each one, and then it lists the selling price for the total. And it does all of that with your Etsy, and it links constantly to keep your inventory, the colors available, and all of that up to date. And it drop ships it from their location. It calculates the shipping for the buyer and all of that, so that you'll get the correct amount of shipping applied and everything that comes. They're out of California, so. And then the order goes straight to them, and I don't have to worry about making it or processing it or going to order it for you after you order it from me. So if you're interested in these shirts, this is the t-shirt version of this shirt. And I'll put on the screen the pricing that they start at, the t-shirts start at. And then there's a crew neck sweater. I could add a hoodie. If anybody is interested in a hoodie or a long sleeve t-shirt, I can add that as well. I just personally, I'm not a hoodie girl. Hoodies like bunch around my hair and my neck, and I don't wear the hood part. And I love the pocket, but I just not a hoodie girl. I am more of a crew neck sweatshirt girl. So this is the other design in the crew neck version. I would rather be crocheting. And I have this is not my, this one's going to the retreat as one of the giveaway prizes. But I have this in a turquoisey sea blue that's really pretty, and I wore it to work Friday, and a coworker was like, I like your shirt. And I'm like, it's true. I would rather be crocheting than be here. I mean, I love my job, but I would much rather be crocheting. But I would rather be crocheting, and this is like in a mustard, a navy, a pinkish color, and this teal. It's kind of part of our branding colors that I use. And then this one is navy. The actual print is navy. And then you pick, there's several different colors of shirts you can pick. A yellow, there's a blue, there's a brown. I think in this sweatshirt there's a brown that's really pretty. Anyway, so this is the new merch available. Again, I'll put the prices on the screen that the shirts start at on the Etsy shop, so that you have an idea in case you're wanting to buy a shirt. Again, I get a small portion of it. I don't make a lot of money off of it. I did not mark them up a lot. The suggested markup was like, holy cow, no one's going to pay $60 for a sweatshirt. So I took my profits down, and so basically I'm not making much, if hardly anything, off of each listing. But I wanted to still bring the designs to you guys in case you wanted them. So anyway, that's the new merch. It's available on my Etsy shop as well. So, okay, last thing. I have 4 weeks until the next show. I'm just going to status quo, keep making what I'm making, a couple $100 a week. I need to get to making some swinging animals probably, and a couple more keychains, a few more $10 items need to be made probably. So I need to try to stick to that, but when the creative juices are flowing, I am ignoring that and going for the pattern designing, because when that dries up, sometimes it dries up for a really long time, and the inspiration to design is just not there. So I want to kind of strike the iron while it's hot. So retreat is also in March. So after the show that I have at the end of February, we just have like a couple weeks, and then the retreat will be here. So I currently have an open spot, and I'm reaching out to some of the people on the wait list. So if you got waitlisted for the retreat, and you are still able to go, feel free to reach out to me to see where you're at on the wait list. The retreat link is, unless you have an old link, it's not up on my description or anything anymore. I still have 4 or 5 people to get to. Everyone has to pay their balances by next Saturday, and then I may or may not have another open spot if somebody else has to back out. But it is March 12th through the 16th, and it's in Kentucky. And so I'm excited about that. Me and April from the Cozy Buckeye are co-hosting this year, or this time. Last time me and Tara, my daughter, did it. This time I'm not even sure if she's going to be able to come. If she does come, it might just be for like the Friday, Saturday part of the weekend, because of her work is just so busy during the spring right now. So she is like, I don't know if I can take off at all. So me and April are planning it together, hosting it together. So excited about it. We're planning some fun things before the retreat starts and some videos together. But we're reaching out right now, trying to get some of our donation sponsors, that kind of stuff, so that we have a few prizes to give away to the people that come, although we don't promise you guys that when you come to the retreat. It is a fun little added extra that people get to go home with something. And so that's not that far away. So as soon as this show at the end of February is over, it will be, I've already got the meals written down and all of that stuff, but it'll be more along the lines of making sure I've got all my supplies and my things together, and my, you know, that kind of stuff. So I'm super excited about the retreat coming up. So, okay, I think that's all I have for you guys today. I managed to not ramble on quite as long as I have been, but I do have editing to do and get this video up and get my pattern live on Etsy so that you guys have it to purchase. And I think that's all I have. If you guys, I love it when you guys comment on my videos, ask questions, message me, tag me in my patterns, tag me in something I inspired you to make, whatever it is. I love it. I love to interact with you guys. It's just part of why I am here. So feel free to comment below. I try to get to everybody's comments, and or send me messages and tag me when you make my things. I appreciate that. I love interacting with you guys. So like this video if you get a chance to like the video. It helps the algorithm and it pushes it out to more people and all those things. But also subscribe to this channel if you are not already. I can see in the YouTube data that about 40% of the people who watch my videos are actually subscribed to them, which maybe they're just not people who subscribe to anybody. You know, I think some people just don't subscribe to anybody. They just let their For You page just throw them whatever, just willy-nilly. Like when I like somebody's content, I don't want to miss something, so I subscribe and make sure I check out my subscribe tab, and I add them to my watch later so that I don't miss their stuff later, so I don't miss a video. So subscribe if you get a chance. We're almost to 4K, which is just amazing. I started my YouTube journey. It'll be a year at the end of February. And I remember when I first started and I got like 10, I mean, I literally had released my intro video and I had like, oh my gosh, I have 8 people, you know, and I remember telling my husband, oh my gosh, I have 17 people. And I'm like, there's 100. I'm like, can you believe that? 100 people wanted to watch my video. And it was just like, and now there's almost 4,000 of you guys subscribed, and it's just, and people commenting, and I love it. So, this community is so amazing. So, anyway, like, comment, subscribe. If you have questions, reach out or comment below. Appreciate you guys being here. If you saw my community post also from a couple days ago, I am thinking about doing a Patreon, but I want it to be special and worth your guys' while. So if you are interested in a Patreon, feel free to comment below what you would love to see in a Patreon from me, or find that community post that I did post and comment there. So I am still thinking it over, and I want to make sure that I can give it the time and the focus that it deserves if I'm going to do it. So let me know if it is something that you're interested in doing, or if there's just enough of those out there. So, okay. Have a great week, guys. Hopefully you found something new that inspired you this week from this video. If not, hopefully I just kept you company while you were crocheting or doing housework, whatever it might be. And thank you for being here again. Have a great week. Happy crocheting, guys. We'll see you. Bye.